Okay guys, so we are back, and in the previous video we got an overview of the project as a whole and saw the finished project. We also talked about some of the things that we're going to cover in this video series. Up next in this video we're going to do a little bit of prep work and create some of the assets that we will need to use later on in this video series. Just to save us some time, we're going to try and get most of the prep work done in this video. So let's go ahead and get started. We are on the Unreal Project browser and the New Project tab. For the purposes of this video series, we're going to be using the Blueprint first-person template. We're also going to make sure that starter content is enabled. Once you've done so, go ahead and choose a save location and a save name for your project. I'm going to call mine the inventory with UMG project. I'm going to hit create project, and it's going to take a second for it to load up. Mine's actually loading off screen here, so I'm going to have to drag that in a moment once it's done loading. But the first thing that we're going to do is create some of the thumbnails that we will be using for our inventory system. Now, a bit of a warning, these thumbnails are not going to be the greatest, but they'll give you an idea of how you can set this up. And then you can come back and kind of make it look a little bit better once you have an understanding of how to set it up. So I'm going to go ahead and drag my project in now that it is loaded so that you can see it. And let's maximize that. And like I said, the first thing we're going to do is create some thumbnails. So to do this, what we're going to do is go down to the starter content folder, and under the shapes folder inside the content browser here, go ahead and open up that. And there's a bunch of thumbnails in here already for a bunch of different shapes that you can drag and drop into your level. We're just going to go ahead and use these. These should do just fine for us for our purposes. So what we're going to do inside the shapes folder, we're going to hit print screen to screen grab this. And I'm going to go off screen for just a second. I am going to open up trusty Paint. So I'm going to use Paint to do some image editing here, but you can use any image editor that you would like. Most of us should have Paint. So with Paint open, I'm going to hit Control V and paste my screen grab. And the thumbnails that we're going to be taking, we're going to be using the shape cylinder here. We're also going to be using the shape pipe 180, and then we're also going to use the shape sphere. Now there's one other thumbnail that I'll show you in a minute once we've grabbed one of these here and gone through the process together. And after we've done this first thumbnail, feel free to pause this video and continue with the other thumbnails so that we don't have to do them here together, just to save us a little bit of time. So let's create the first one here together. I'm going to hit escape to deselect everything. Kind of left click and drag around this shape cylinder here. Something like that. That should be good. I'm going to hit Control C and Control N. No, we do not want to save these. Let's give us a new canvas, and Control V to paste my thumbnail. So that is going to be our thumbnail. We're going to make one quick change to this. We're going to right click on it and go down to resize. And in the resize and skew window, we're going to go to pixels, and we're going to uncheck maintain aspect ratio because we're going to set these manually. We're going to set them to 32 by 32 and hit OK. The reason why we selected those values is after experimenting in setting this project up, determined that this was the best size to use for the purposes of our specific inventory system. But you could use any size you want in your own version of this, but for our purposes, I think this is fine to get started. So now that we have this created, going to go up here and save as. So save as, and make sure that you save as a PNG file. That is the type of asset that we need to import into Unreal Engine 4. And as you can see, I have already created some of these assets. So again, in the interest of time, if you want to pause this video, go ahead and create these remaining assets. So we have the can, which we were currently working on. We have the banana, and we have the orange, and we also have fire. So let me go ahead and show you where these are. Let me cancel out of this and close this so you can see. So we have the shape cylinder. So we're using this one here, the shape pipe, and the shape sphere. Now for the fire, what we've done is gone to the particles folder under starter content and just screen grabbed this fire. So once you have all of those set up, once you have created those, what we're going to do inside the content browser is right click on the content folder and create a new folder and call it textures. We're then going to take our thumbnails that we've created and drag a selection box around all of them and drag and drop those into the content browser. Once we've done so, they have been added to the project. There's an asterisk in the lower left-hand corner of each thumbnail letting us know that these have not been saved yet. So I'm going to click Save All. And there we go. We have a banana, we have can, fire, orange, all essential items for a survival-based game, I guess. We are set. Let's go ahead and save selected. And we are done with our thumbnails. So the next thing that we're going to do is create the UI. I guess we should preface this by explaining what they are. We are going to be creating the widget blueprint, which is used with Unreal Motion Graphics or UMG to create your UI elements. So we're going to create those widget blueprints right now. We're not going to be working in them in this video, but we're just going to get them ready so that we can work with them down the road. So first thing we're going to do, right-click on the content folder in the content browser and create a new folder and call it UMG. This is where we're going to store those widget blueprints. So we're going to right-click over here now, and we're going to go to User Interface, and there is our widget blueprint. I did want to take one quick second to kind of talk about what else is in this little context menu here. So we have the option for fonts. We're not going to be dealing with fonts in this video series. That could be something that we tackle down the road. But I did want to talk about Slate Brush and Slate Widget Style really quickly. Slate, if you're familiar with Unreal Engine 3 and earlier versions of Unreal Engine 4 actually, Slate is the core framework for building UI elements in Unreal Engine 4, and it's actually what Unreal Motion Graphics is built upon. So Unreal Motion Graphics, again UMG for short, is the visual way of working with Slate and constructing your UI elements, but you are still accessing Slate functionality under the hood. So I kind of wanted to just preface this and give you a quick history on how UMG and Slate work together. So let's create our widget blueprint, and we're going to call this widget blueprint Game HUD. This is going to be our main game HUD. It's going to store our player condition, and it's going to store our inventory display and everything. We're going to right-click one more time, and we're going to create another user interface widget blueprint. And this one's going to be called Inventory Slot. So Inventory Slot. This is the individual slot inside of our inventory, our quote-unquote bag. This is each individual slot will be represented by this Inventory Slot widget blueprint. The last widget blueprint that we need to create here, if we right-click, let's go to User Interface, widget blueprint, and we're going to call this pickup text. This is the text that will appear above our pickups in our level. So as we approach them, the text that appears above them, this will be conveyed through this pickup text widget blueprint. So with those created, let's save all. So we save our 3 widget blueprints. So they are saved, and we are good to go. Next thing we're going to do, let's go to the first person BP folder here, and the blueprints folder inside of it. We need to make some modifications to these, some of these existing blueprints. So we'll start out with the first person character blueprint here. So let's go ahead and double click and open that up. And once that opens, we are currently looking at Blueprints visual scripting, and there's a bunch of script in here that is used to control the movement of our player character. We can fire projectiles and jump and control our mouse, etc. We're not going to be doing any functionality in here just yet, but I did want to create some variables that we will be using later on. So let's go ahead and create those variables right now. So we're going to go to the My Blueprint panel on the far left over here, and down under the variables section, we're going to click this Add a Variable button. So go ahead and click that. It's going to create a new variable for us. And we're going to call this first variable health value. This is going to represent our player character's health value. So go ahead and select it. Not rename it, but select it. And then over in the details panel, far upper right, we're going to change the variable type by clicking this drop down and changing it to a float. So a floating point number. So we have our health value set up. We're going to create 2 more versions of this float variable. So we're going to click the plus sign over here on the far left. We're going to call this energy value. It's already a float, which is perfect. I'll create one more. This one's going to be called mood value. So we have our 3 conditions to track for our player character. So I'm going to compile really quickly from the toolbar at the top. Go ahead and click Compile. And now we can set the default values for these 3 properties. So with mood selected, we'll start there. Over in the details panel, I'm going to set this to, right now it's set to 0. We're going to set this to 0.25 to start. 1 would represent an entry of 1 would represent 100% or full. So we're resetting this to 25% of that. For energy, I'm going to set this to 0.5, so 50% full. And for health, we're going to set that to 0.75. Now, you can come back and reset these to any value that you'd like. Typically, you'd probably want to start out with full values for all of these. But for our purposes in testing, I'd like to set these up at different values so that I can see once we hook them up that they are accurately portraying the correct values. So with that, let's compile from the top up here and save, and then close this blueprint. That's all we need to do in here for now. The next thing that we're going to do, we're going to hop over to the first-person HUD blueprint. So go ahead and double-click and open that up. And this blueprint is used to, as the comment here says, draw crosshair in center of screen. So this is part of the template. All of these blueprints, actually, if we look at them again, all of these blueprints come standard with this template. This is currently being used to draw the crosshairs that appear in-game. We want to be able to control when this is displayed. So we're going to do this by creating a variable. So we're going to go to the My Blueprint panel and the Variables section. So let's click the Add Variable button here. We're going to call this variable Show Crosshairs. And it's going to be of the Boolean type, which is true or false. So that's exactly what we want. And inside our graph, this is the script for drawing the crosshairs. It's currently hooked up from this event here to draw a crosshairs texture. We're going to unhook this. So we're going to right-click on this executable pin here, right-click on it, and break link. So break the link. That will disconnect it. We're then going to hold B on our keyboard and left-click in the graph. That's going to create a branch node for us. And then we're going to hook up this event just by left-clicking and dragging that into our branch. You'll get the check mark there to connect our branch, like so. And then off the false here, we're going to take the false. Oh, you know what? Let's take the true. We're going to take the true. We'll take the true and plug that into our draw texture, like so. So now we can take our show crosshairs that we created, that variable, left-click and drag and drop that on top of the condition, like so. So if show crosshairs is true, go ahead and draw the texture. If it is false, do nothing, do not show it. So we need to compile up here at the top and set the default value for show crosshair. So by default, we want to show the crosshairs. When we toggle our inventory menu, for example, we will set this to false, which will disable the crosshairs. So with that, I'm just going to stretch this comment box out and over and around this like so. With that, let's compile and save, and then close this blueprint. Now we're almost done. We're about 13 minutes in. Got a couple more blueprints to add now, and then we should be done. The first blueprint that we're going to add, let's right-click in an empty spot in the content browser here, and we're going to go up to the Blueprints section, and we're going to use a blueprint interface. And a blueprint interface is a way for us to provide communication between multiple blueprints. It's basically an intermediary where one blueprint can talk to this interface, and then any other blueprints that implement this interface will get the notification that information has been passed. And they could either choose to accept it and use it or do nothing with it, depending on how we set up our script. So we're going to create a blueprint interface so we can have some communication between our blueprints. And we're going to call this interface the action interface. So let's double click and open up that action interface. And now that we have it open, it's a little bit different than the blueprint editor interface, but it does have some similar things. So we can add functions. So up in the upper right, by default, there is one function already created and asking us to enter a name for it. So let's give it one. We're going to call this function useAction. And if you accidentally clicked off it and were unable to rename it, you can select double click inside the selection box to rename it, or hit F2. But go ahead and call it use action. Then go ahead and click the add new button at the top. And we're going to add one more function to this. So click the function. It's going to create a new graph for us and ask us for a name. We're going to call this drop action. And these two functions are going to be used to issue commands from our inventory when we've decided to use or drop an item from our inventory. Then our pickups and our player characters can get the notification that we have either used or dropped an item and can take the appropriate measures that we're going to set up a little bit later. So for our drop action, there's one thing that we need to do for this. Down in the input section here, we're going to click this new option under inputs, and it's going to add an input for us. And we're going to change the variable type here to an actor. So search for actor. We want the object reference. Go ahead and select actor. And we're going to rename this to item to drop. And this is going to pass through the item that we have selected that needs to be dropped from our inventory. So with that, we can compile and save, and then close this blueprint. Okay, the next thing that we are going to do, we're going to right-click in the graph again. So we're going to right-click, and under Blueprints, we're going to go to the bottom down here. We're going to select a structure. So go ahead and select structure. And we're going to call this structure inventory struct. And a structure, in short, is basically a collection of different variables all stored within this container, in essence. So we'll hold a bunch of different information that we can pull different pieces out as we need to, which is perfect for our pickups. Our pickups are all going to use this inventory struct to define the makeup of the pickup. So the thumbnail that is associated with the pickup, the name that should appear above the pickup in the level when you approach it, what should happen when you click on it inside the inventory, what it should tell you, what it's going to do, etc. That's all going to be handled inside our inventory struct. So let me drag my example project out of the way here so we can do this together from scratch. So let's open up the inventory struct. Go ahead and double click and open it up. And for this, we're going to create 4 new variables. So go ahead and click the new variable button 3 more times since we have one there by default. So we have 4. Now on this first one, we're going to click the variable pin type here. So we're going to click this drop down, and we're going to search for actor. And we're going to choose the object reference actor. And let's go ahead and rename this. We're going to rename this to item. And this is the actual pickup item itself in the world that we are referring to here. For this one, let's click the next one down the list, and let's search for texture 2D. And we want the texture 2D object reference here, so go ahead and select this one here. And this is going to represent the pickup item image, so the thumbnail. So let's name it that. We're going to name it item image. So now the next 2 are both going to be text values, so go ahead and change those both to text. So that one's text, and that one's text. And this first one is going to be called pickup text. This is the text that will appear above the item inside of our levels. The one below that, we're going to change this to action text. And this is the text that will appear in the menu when we select it from our inventory, because this text could vary. It could say equip, it could say use, it could say any number of different things that we want it to be associated with our pickup. So we're going to make this a variable called action text. So with that, let's save and let's close this blueprint. So didn't mean to get rid of that. With all of our prep work done now, I think we can wrap here. We're about 20 minutes in. I think this is a good place to stop. What we've done is created all the thumbnails that we will be using for our inventory project. We've created all of our UI widget blueprints. So we have our game HUD, our inventory slot, and our pickup text. We have also created or modified some of the existing blueprints in here that came with the template so that we can affect our player's condition with our health, energy, and mood. And we were able to turn on and off the crosshairs, and we added some other blueprints such as the interface so that we can communicate between our blueprints later down the road. And then we also did our inventory structure to hold all kinds of different information about our pickups. So we did a lot of heavy lifting in this video. I think this is a good place to pause. In the next video, we will start working inside Unreal Motion Graphics. We'll give you a quick introduction to all the different windows and panels inside of UMG if you are completely new to it, before we start constructing our display of our player condition in-game. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.